So,
Yes, my association with Saint Francis Hospice, sadly, as most people have the association, my mum passed away 2 years ago this summer, and we didn't really sort of put any feelers out for anything, but you know, God bless them, we had some care from, she was at Queen's Hospital in Romford, and I guess that sort of comes under the umbrella of St Francis, and we were just asked if we would like somebody to come around and just sit with us. And of course, you know, it's a sad time, so you just say yes, and we really didn't understand what it would be, whether it was physical care or whatever, because my dad, who passed away a long time ago, he actually died in hospital, so we didn't have the chance for any of that. But yeah, and then a couple of ladies, I think 3 or 4 different people, maybe one at a time, sort of came around and just sat with us, and subsequently looking back on it, everybody, you know, especially if somebody's very, very ill or terminally ill, you look at the patient as the one that's suffering and going through it all. But, you know, the families are the ones, and the thing is, they're the ones that kind of, that perhaps don't want to accept it, whereas the patient obviously knows what's happening to them, and they're a little bit more at peace, especially at that stage, with what's going on. So we've got all these questions and all that kind of stuff, and instead of somebody sitting there and just sort of sitting behind a table and saying, well, tell me what you want, you know, they would just talk to you. And in the end, our particular situation was that Mum wanted to be at home, so she was sitting at home. So we had a bed from the hospital, so she was laying there. She was in a very serene state, and she had the cannula thing on, so she was kind of out of it, but would be twitching every now and then, so you know, you knew she was around. And basically what happened was that the ladies from St Francis were talking to myself and my brother and our other halves. And it turned into, it was virtually a whole weekend where the mum was hanging on for. And in the end, what actually happened was that we were talking about our lives, and Dad and Mum. And I don't know whether it's you know, apocryphal thing, or, you know, is that they always say that people, even in their state that they are, they can perhaps hear what's going on. And it was almost like a lovely little tying up session, because the lady from St Francis would just say, well, you know, well, how did you meet? How did, you know? So what it did was it got to almost talk through. And it was almost like a "this is your life" of my mum for about 48 hours. And it was such a lovely, and I didn't realise until afterwards that happened. And I don't know whether it's on purpose or whatever it is. And I found out that the Saint Francis Hospice people were there for us more than anything, you know, and it was such a comfort. And the physiology of this as well. There were a couple of ladies that had obviously done quite a lot of visits and sat with people as they died. So if we had any questions, they were saying, you know, you can tell by her, you know, the colour of the lips and the shallowness of the breathing, you know, it's not going to be long now. And it was really nice to have those kind of things. It's almost like it's, I don't know how to explain it. It's such a thing that happens to absolutely everybody, but to you, it's the biggest thing in the world.
Absolutely.
So for somebody to say, this happens all the time, yes, that is going to happen, this is going to happen. So it makes, when it happens to you, you either sort of, you know it's going to come, so it's not such a shock, or you accept it and you kind of understand that everybody goes through it, you know, even though it's particularly painful for you. So that's kind of my introduction to St Francis Hospice. And obviously everything sort of, when my mum obviously physically died, you know, everything gets all wrapped up in the legality of it, and the law, and not lawyers, you know, solicitors and the doctor and everything. So we obviously thanked everybody, and it was only earlier this year, really. I guess you sort of take stock of certain things. Last year, 2016, was a particularly horrible year for everybody, losing people, both famous and not, you know. And for whatever reason, I think some must have been thinking about my mum, and I was just sitting at home, and I just thought that I think I got a letter, actually, a newsletter from St Francis, and you saw that all these people were doing good things for you guys, and not, you know, and I just sent an email in, just out the blue, and just said, I don't know what I can do, if there's anything I can do, and I spoke to a lovely Mike, and he was thrilled that I got in touch, and so I'm here today to do my very first little thing to raise a bit of awareness and money. I don't know if it's money today or just awareness, but yeah. So I'm happy to do that and just spread the love, really.
Well, that's it. I mean, for us, it's anything that can help us to raise the profile, because as you know, we are only part funded.
Yes.
I think we've raised 7.6 million a year.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that
it's
a lot.
absolutely a lot. So we're any way that we can introduce new people to our story.
Yeah.
And like for someone like yourself, who's obviously you have a high profile anyway, but you've got the experience of the hospice. You've actually received the care.
Yeah, and I think it's when you see sometimes a lot of there's a few kind of very notable women that have gone through perhaps breast cancer and stuff, and everybody goes through it. But when somebody from the TV you think is not necessarily untouchable, but somebody you think is special, and whoever's in charge of everything, they will look after them because they're very special. If they get breast cancer, you think, well, it can happen to anybody. And it's the same thing with terminal illnesses and all of that. So if anybody wants to come out of the woodwork who's very well known, a lot of people, just because you can sing in front of people doesn't really make you special. Doesn't make you a better person.
You can sing as well as you do.
Well,
maybe he does a little bit.
Well, you know what I'm saying. It means I'm just another person on this planet that's just trying to get through a real tough time. And if somebody like me who sings in front of 100,000 people still needs a cuddle from somebody from a hospice, then the guy that works down the garage, or the lady that stacks the shelves in the supermarket, or the woman that is on the deli counter at Tesco's, we all need a cuddle at that particular time, regardless of what your life is like or how much you earn or where you fly off to. We're all the same in that respect. It's a real leveler, and I think it's nice that people can be reminded of that, even in a small way, if I can do something like that.
No, it is, because a lot of people, I don't know whether you had any awareness of hospice care prior to your experience.
I had no personal experience of it, but obviously we know what hospices are, and because I come from Essex, I was born in Romford, we've known that this is the kind of the Essex, or the West Essex kind of place, should anything happen, So I've always been aware of this place, but it's only until it actually does touch you physically that you see that everybody's in the same boat.
For sure. And I think a lot of people have a fear of hospice care. Like, you've come to realise that actually it's about the whole family, it's about the whole journey.
Yeah.
For some people, they don't understand that. They don't understand. They think it's all about just the death experience.
The last bit of care. Yeah, well, I went to see Mike up at the hospice, and the thing that I noticed more than anything was that the actual organisation and the size of the organisation, but the physical care is only for like a dozen beds or 16 beds. 16 beds. So yes, I thought I was going to go to a place that had just beds and beds and beds and beds of people that are nearly gone, and as they were getting closer, they'd be shifted nearer the door, like most people do, and then just right, that's it, last one, and then they all roll over and one falls out. But it's not that. There was so many people that were there just for the day. So many, and there was one person that was ill, and maybe 3 or 4 people were her or his family, and you're looking after them as well. And that's where the money goes more than anything. It's a cup of tea for Brenda, who's the daughter of the lady who will be passing in the next month or so. So that was kind of a bit of a surprise for me. And then you realise actually, you do need a heck of a lot of money to look after all of these people,
It's amazing that you get that, because you really do get it, like, because a lot of people don't, but you actually really, I mean, everything that you say is what we say all the time to people. And so many people want to die at home like your mother. They don't want to be, and so we help to make that happen as much as possible, because if that's what people want, it's the best place for them to be.
Absolutely, yeah. And that generation, they, it's that, I don't want to be a fuss. I don't want to make a fuss. I just want to go home and relax, and that's it. So yeah, it's a fantastic cause. And sadly, it's something that's going to be going on forever. So to be a little part of it is fantastic.
Cool. And one more question, because I can't not ask you about 10cc while I'm interviewing you. So if you could tell me just how did that come about?
Again, it was a phone call. I've actually worked out it's about my 20th year that I've known Graham Gouldman, who's the only remaining member of 10cc from the original 4. The band started in 72. I've been working with Cliff for 3 or 4 years, and I was just going about my daily business and had a phone call from a guy called Rick, who's the guitarist of the band, and he said, Pete, who I worked with Cliff, he's recommended you to do something. Graham Gouldman was doing an acoustic set at a kind of a cabaret thing in a hotel in London. And he was doing all of his songs that he wrote in the 60s and some 10cc stuff. And they needed another backing vocal at the time and a bit of percussion, which I play a bit of percussion, you know, some shaker and congas and stuff. So I just went and joined him and sang some backing vocals. I didn't do any lead vocals. It was all about him, 3 acoustic guitars and me. And then his management got in touch a while later and said, Graham wants to do some more, are you available? And then we did a couple of gigs at Ronnie Scott's, which were bigger things. And of course, when somebody like that puts their head over the parapet, all the 10cc fans want to come to the show. So they want to hear Rubber Bullets and Donna and all those sort of songs. And Graham, vocally, doesn't do those kind of things. So he said to me, could you sing this, could you sing that, could you sing this? And that's where it all started, really. And it was still acoustic for a few years, and then after about 3 or 4 years, we went electric, and so it sounded more like the 10cc that is on record and that you hear now. And it just got bigger and bigger, and with the whole kind of retro thing that's going on, or has been going on for the last 10 years, you know, bands like Spandau are out, ABC, you know, all of that, The Who are still out there doing it. So people, rather than it being all a little bit, I'm not sure about, it's a bit old-fashioned, people are re-enjoying that. And the way that I think that commercially and the way that the economy is going, I think the 50-somethings and 60-somethings, they're the ones with the disposable income that want to pay and go and see these shows. You know, so Graham carries on doing it because people want him to carry on doing it, you know, for no other reason. You know, he's obviously written a load of tunes, he's got a nice big house, but he loves getting out and playing. And I never think, this is going to be the last tour that we ever do. But we do a big tour of the UK, and a load of people come. You know, we did the Palladium earlier this year, and sold that out. And you just and a little part of you, because I'm a working musician from Romford, a little bit of me saying, "Well, I've had a good run. Perhaps I might get a phone call tomorrow saying it's all over." But then another call, you know, a week or something in Norway, 2 weeks in Australia, and all of that. And I guess, you know, touch wood, that as long as everybody stays fit, he will carry on doing it, and hopefully I should be there doing it as well, you know.
Amazing. Look, it's been a real pleasure to talk to you.
My pleasure.
And thank you for your time.
And keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you.